How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to 2A News Now. And as always, I appreciate everybody that takes time to watch my videos. I have a little bit different video for you guys today, but I think a lot of you would think it's pretty cool. The FBI has seized a rare model 1868 Trapdoor Saddle Ring Carbine that was stolen from Springfield Armory. And here's how rare this firearm is. There were only 4 of them manufactured at the Springfield Armory. And now the rifle is in the hands of our government. This carbine was made a few years after the Civil War. And like I said, they only made a handful of these because it was a gun that was possibly going to be used for the U.S. Cavalry. And some of you may not know that the National Park Service started to manage that collection. And a few years after they started managing the collection, they found out that that rare rifle was missing. And then in October of last year, informed a judge at the U.S. District Court of Massachusetts that they believed that they identified the gun as the rare rifle that was missing from Springfield Armory. And they requested to seize that firearm. And that firearm was sold to a collector in 2021 for $5,000. The FBI had contacted that collector and said they believed the firearm that he purchased in 2021 had been stolen from Springfield Armory. He then allowed the FBI to take a look at it. And on Tuesday of this week, an assistant U.S. attorney who's in charge of an assets recovery unit announced the government was in possession of the firearm. And she filed for forfeiture action in federal court. And that forfeiture action allows that collector that purchased it an opportunity to contest the government's seizure. And here's just a quick background of Springfield Armory. During the Revolutionary War, George Washington started it. And Springfield Armory manufactured firearms for the federal government all the way up until 1968. I had mentioned earlier that the U.S. Park Service, who has been managing that collection, said the firearm went missing from Springfield Armory's inventory in 1985. So that rare firearm has been missing for over 40 years. And throughout the 40 years that the rare firearm was missing, government officials had received tips on where the carbine might be. Back in the 1990s, several collectors told the National Park Service that the firearm had been stolen and ended up in the collection of a man named Gerald Denning, who has since passed away. And unfortunately, since this firearm has been missing, parts of the carbine have been replaced and the serial number was defaced to try to hide the identity of the rare carbine. All the way up to 2002, the National Park Service had received tips about the carbine. And like I said, that the serial number had been defaced. And also, unfortunately, the stock had been changed out. And in 2015, the rifle surfaced when a curator at Springfield Armory, that the family of the man that had the firearm was actually trying to sell it at a gun show in Baltimore. But for some reason at that time, the FBI didn't try to seize it. But in 2021, when the collector bought the firearm, he allowed the FBI to take the firearm to their laboratory in Quantico, Virginia. But unfortunately, they were not able to read the number that had been placed on the butt of the gun. According to an affidavit, the number was marked over, so the full number could not be read. But then the FBI took that rare firearm to a private university where they use an electron scanning microscope to take a look at the serial number on the barrel. But unfortunately, even with the special microscope, they couldn't read that number either because it was covered in metal solder. Now, evidently, they've had some problems there at Springfield Armory with things coming up missing. In early 2023, government officials said they recovered a percussion cap pistol that was stolen from the museum in 1971. And then only a few months after that, they said they recovered 24 marksmanship medals that had been missing since the 1990s. We'll just have to wait to see if a judge upholds the forfeiture and then that rare carbine that was made at the Springfield Armory can be returned to the collection where it belongs. Now, they haven't said, and we probably will never know, if the collector knew that the carbine had been stolen. But also, it was really nice of him to let the FBI take a look at it. But that unfortunately for him, if the government forfeiture goes through, the guy's going to be out of $5,000. But also you have to think, if this guy is a collector and he can afford $5,000 to purchase that carbine, he's probably got some deep pockets. Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comment section. And also, what do you think about the security at Springfield Armory? And just imagine it's only one of 4 that were ever made. And also, I would really like to thank everybody that supports the channel. by not only watching the videos, but after watching the videos, they like, share, and subscribe, and hit those post notifications, and I'm very grateful everybody does so. And I invite all of you to come back and watch my next video.